The 2024 NFL schedule is out for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's break it down into three important parts.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _. Follow the podcast, Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Leave a like, leave a comment. You know the drill. Everydayers, thanks for being here for as long as you have. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, thank you all the same. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get more fun. Well, how is that possible, Alex? I have so much fun for the 25 to 30 minutes I spend looking at your big dumb face every day. The product we're going to be discussing is going to be better. One of the internal struggles that I've been facing is I've been looking at other people's projections for win totals for the Arizona Cardinals. And listen, it's very early. It's very, very early. We're months away. But it's just interesting to get kind of a barometer reading on what other people think. And one of my mentors in the sports radio business told me something very early on, and I didn't listen because, I see there's value in what I'm about to discuss, but they're like, you know what? Don't try to mimic or copy anybody else. Be yourself. Now, if there's things that line up with other, talking heads and you have similarities and things like that, it's going to happen. It's just happenstance. But think for yourself. I did listen to that part. Think for yourself and just be as authentic as you can, just like you're talking to a friend. And I did that. The thing that I struggled with was not listening to other people, like listening to other, I listen to Colin Cowherd, I listen to my friends that are on the radio, I listen to, whatever it is. And with that, tying to what I just discussed about, win-loss records and what other people are projecting, it gives an interesting barometer on what people think, whether they're overvaluing the Cardinals, undervaluing the Cardinals, or valuing what I think is just right. Anybody that picks the Cardinals to win less than 5 games or less, I think is just a little out of touch on, the Cardinals, because by and large, most people are indifferent to the Arizona Cardinals from a national media perspective. And they have been since the Cardinals, lost that Thursday night game to Green Bay when A.J. Green didn't turn around during the miscommunication with him and Kyler Murray. And that was it. People are saying the Cardinals are going to win 10 games without breaking a sweat, I think is a little lofty. I think it's lofty. I think it's a little homerish, and I think it's look at everybody can have wishful thinking. And yes, Kyler Murray's an above-average quarterback. And yes, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. And yes, the defense has gotten better. And yes, the offensive line is the best that they've seen, that we've seen them have in quite some time. And yes, they drafted Trey Benson to go with James Conner. And Trey McBride in his third year is really going to catapult. Yeah, all of those things are true. And other teams got better also. So with the Cardinals schedule that I'm going to break down here in 3 parts, I feel like the over-under of 6.5 is on the money. Could be 7, could be 8, maybe 9. But double-digit wins with this schedule. Double-digit wins with this roster, as young as it is. The entire quarterback room is under the age of 24. 25, Sean Murphy Bunting, maybe a little bit older. They're young. The pass rush room, the 2 leaders in the pass rush room are a rookie and a second-year guy. We'll see what happens with Zaven Collins. Especially on the defensive side of the ball with the murderer's row of quarterbacks they have to face this year, I just temper your expectations. If they surprise you, fantastic. This isn't like a doomsday, the Cardinals are going to win 3 games, but it's like, man, look at the facts here before we just say the Cardinals are going to win 10 games next year. Could happen. I mean, they've got playmakers, but so does everybody else. So let's break down this schedule in 3 parts. Okay, and I do it on purpose because there's 3 different iterations of the Arizona Cardinals and what they'll face during weeks 1 through 6, week 7 through 12, and week 13 through 18. So for those that are watching on YouTube, you see the calendar revealed that the Arizona Cardinals social media account put out. But for this first segment, on the road at the Bills, at home against the Rams, at home against the Lions, at home against the Commanders, on the road against the 49ers, and on the road in Green Bay. So week 1, Bills. The beauty of week 1 is anything can happen. The beauty of week 1 against the Bills is they've got a revamped offense and defense. Jordan Poyer's not there anymore. Micah Hyde's either going to retire or come back in 2024 with the Bills. They lost Trey Edmonds. They've got their front still of Von Miller, who's 100, and Ed Oliver, and Greg Rousseau. We got James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, and Dawson Knox. And then, for stat purposes, the best quarterback in the NFL in Josh Allen. He's just an absolute stuffer of them stats. He'll probably be fantasy football quarterback 1. Again, it's just what he does. So going there, though, the beauty of it is they don't have a bona fide wide receiver 1. I guess it'll be Keon Coleman at some point, you'd think, the rookie out of Florida State. But, MVS, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. Okay. I think Dalton Kincaid's their wide receiver 1. It's kind of like the Cardinals from last year with Trey McBride. The beauty of Buffalo also is there's so many question marks about their future, different leveled ones. There's just so many question marks. There's uncertainty there for the first time in a couple of years, and coupled with the fact that it's week 1 and anything can happen. So I think that's a beautiful start. If the Cardinals were to play the Bills in week 15 on the road in the snow, that would be bad. This is the perfect time for the Cardinals to play the Bills. It's on the road. It's a tough game, though. Probably going to be a loss. We'll see if they can keep it competitive. Week 2, at home against the Rams are a different Rams team, okay? They're younger. No Aaron Donald. Very young defense. Puka Nacua, Tyler Higbee, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, but Matthew Stafford. This could be a sneaky win game for the Cardinals, okay? It's at home. The Cardinals have had more success at home against the Rams than on the road, even though they haven't had a whole lot of success. I think they did beat them in 2021 on the road by a lot. It's still a tough game. 2 very tough games to start. Week 3, at home against the Lions. The Lions are now up there with Super Bowl favorites. Okay. The Cardinals have not had success against the Lions, even when they were bad. Even when they were bad. That was kind of the flashbulb memory I had of 2021 when the Cardinals go on the road to Detroit and lose to a very, very, wait for it, very bad Detroit Lions team. And I was like, okay, yeah, this team isn't serious. I don't care what the record says. I said it week 1 of that year against Tennessee when they beat them by 30. I'm like, nothing's changed. They're going to turn into a pumpkin at some point because the same mistakes are being made. And then we really saw it come to a head in Detroit. Detroit's going to be a tough matchup. That's probably going to be a loss. The Commanders, Cliffy baby coming home. Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback. Dan Quinn, yuck. That should be a win. But, well, let me go on to and then the 49ers on the road is a tough matchup. And then the Packers on the road is a tough matchup, even though I can't remember if the last time they played, maybe it was 2 times ago, the Chase Edmonds game in Green Bay. I think they beat them 2 times ago. I can't remember. They don't play them very often. But when you look at those first 6 weeks, that's 5 playoff teams and 3 home games. So in part 1, the Cardinals need to maximize a third of their home games for the entire season taking place in the first 4 weeks, irrespective of opponent. They've got to get 2 wins there if they want to have more wins than they do losses at the end of the year. That is the toughest stretch for the most part for the season. First 6 weeks. You can probably tack on week 7 and week 8 that I'll discuss in the next segment. But in part 1, they've got to stack home wins, maybe steal one in Buffalo. Because if they start 1-5, It's going to be a long season. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals schedule in 3 parts. Part 2 next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Welcome in. To the second segment. Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Please go to YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. If you want to go leave a review, if you're an audio listener of the show, I'd appreciate it. Had some people from other teams not so happy with me about some of the things I said. I apologize. I don't say things to piss people off. They just sometimes don't like hearing the actual truth about their team. I don't know. You win some, you lose some. So weeks 1 through 6, pivotal in every season. Okay. Let's not split the hairs here. Well, every game is important. Why are we breaking this down? Give me a break. All right. 5 playoff teams in the first 6 weeks. And then it doesn't get easier when you go week 7 through 12. Especially after going to Lambeau, early morning slate against the Packers. Then you come home and play the Chargers on Monday night. Then you go to South Beach, play the Dolphins in week 8 on a short week. Week 9 at home against the Bears, week 10 at home against the Jets, week 11 bye week, and week 12 on the road in Seattle. Okay, so Chargers. This game is, while it's part of a stack on Monday night, which is kind of a kick in the midsection, I guess, because it's a family show. It's just the Cardinals should have beat the Chargers the last time they played them. They kind of gave that game away. And if the Cardinals can get a dub on Monday night against Jim Harbaugh, this would be a big deal. It's a signature win. Now, it's predicated upon what they do weeks 1 through 6. If this gets them their second or third win of the year, it's not a signature-y. But you'd think that the way the Cardinals play and where their strengths are would lend to be able to, kind of weaken the strengths of the Chargers. Pass rush. Okay. They're going to run the ball a lot. That will, negate a lot of that. The wide receiver room for the Chargers isn't what it once was. Sure, Quentin Johnston, we'll see what his second year is going to bring. They drafted Ladd McConkey. They've got weapons, Gus Edwards out of the backfield. But this isn't going to be one of the tougher wide receiver matchups for this young cornerback core. And the Cardinals can run the rock. So I feel like this is going to be a more, pounded out game where Jim Harbaugh is going to run the ball too. So this could play to the strengths of the Cardinals in week 7. Then week 8, you go to South Beach. I'm assuming not a whole lot of defense is going to be played. This could be ugly. And it's not because the Cardinals aren't going to compete. It's not because the Cardinals aren't going to put up points, most likely. It's because there's nobody on the planet of the 1%er corners that can keep up with Tyreek Hill. It's proven time and time again. If you've got a questionable secondary, he's going to torch you for 10, 180, and 2 touchdowns. It's just what happens. And then if Jalen Waddle's healthy, it's going to be a lighter version of that. And then you've got the 3-headed monster in the backfield with, Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane and the rookie out of Tennessee. This could be a very long day for the Cardinals, especially on a short week after what's probably going to be a physical Monday night game against the Chargers. And then you come home and play the Bears. So this is where it gets a little wonky. It's like, okay, I've seen the Bears projected to win 10 games this year. I've seen the Bears projected to win 7. Same thing for the Cardinals. This is one of the biggest question mark games going into the season. The Cardinals have had success against the Bears. I know this is a different Bears team, but the Cardinals have had success. They've had success against the Bears. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when it comes to Caleb Williams and Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and an improved defense. And, they're ready to play Cole Kmet, but we still don't know who Caleb Williams is going to be in his rookie year. They've got a cupcake schedule early on, so he may get some momentum going and kind of see he could get some momentum going, and he could be in mid-season form as a rookie and whatever, varying degree that means. But listen, Nick Rallis did a lot, and Jonathan Gannon did a lot with this defense last year, okay, with not a whole lot of premium talent. And they've got that now. Even though they're rookies, they've got that talent now. So that's the biggest question mark game probably on the schedule this year for the Cardinals, for me at least. And then you have Aaron Rodgers coming in week 10. That's a good defense. That's a good offense if he's healthy with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Like, are you starting to see, like, I used to be very pessimistic and negative about this team. And I don't apologize for a second about that because it was deserved. And I don't say this to toot my own horn. I was right. Okay. I was right about Cliff. I was right about Kine. Everybody that, was defending both of them, you're wrong. I was right. And it feels good. And I wish I wasn't right. I wish we weren't in that situation where it's not if it falls apart, it's when. The infrastructure wasn't built to be a winning organization. Okay. So now when the Cardinals are playing these teams that are elevated, they're more equipped to play against these teams than they would have been 2 years ago with this exact roster. It's not to say Steve Keim would have come anywhere close to drafting this class, but the Cardinals are more equipped. They played and competed with the best talent in football last year and only got blown out twice with no talent and Kyler Murray out for the majority of the season. So that's why this year is so tough to, project wins and losses because we don't know how ready these rookies are going to be. We don't know how much Kyler Murray is going to elevate this offense. We don't know how Marvin Harrison is going to be ready right away. We don't know if Trey McBride is going to be looked at as maybe the best tight end in football. There's an open seat. Sure, Travis Kelce's the OG, okay? But when it comes down to it, we don't know who the next one is. There could just be a bevy of them. Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave if he's healthy. There's a bunch of tight ends that are going to be good. The Ferguson kid, Jake Ferguson out of Dallas. We don't know. But when the Jets come into town with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a tough matchup. It just is. And then they have their bye week. Okay? And when it comes to the bye week, it's the perfect time. Either it's going to stop the bleeding or it's going to give the Cardinals that breath, that respite before going into the tail stretch of the season. And if the Cardinals can go into the bye week 4-4, that's a win, in my opinion, with the teams that they play. Anything better, anything more is better. Now, Seattle, this is the thing. And then week 12 of Seattle. Win-loss projections have the Cardinals beating Seattle twice. I don't know, tell your friends. The Cardinals are 1-6 in the last 7 matchups with Seattle. And yes, Matt Prater last year gave the Cardinals Marvin Harrison Jr. for that. So say 2-5. They're 2-5 in their last 7 matchups. I don't understand why this is just Seattle win. Oh, Seattle win. Why? For what reason? I don't get it. And that's, the Seattle game is the biggest question marks, in my opinion, for the NFC West this year for the Cardinals. But you're starting to see weeks 1 through 6 are brutal, and then it starts to let up a little bit in the second chapter. But the first 11 games are this whole schedule is tough, man. What about the third chapter of the Cardinals 2024 season? I'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. like those 2 Game 7s yesterday. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Final segment. Alex Clancy here, Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. You like my hat like this? I'm trying a new look. No? Okay, fair enough. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, irrespective of the dumb stuff that I say sometimes. I appreciate you being here every dayers. Cardinals, 3-parter regarding the schedule. So, it's way too early to tell, okay? We've barely seen Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. on, having eyes locked on each other in person, let alone in pads running full speed. The potential for this offense, there's no ceiling. Truly, there's no ceiling. You've got everything in the place that's necessary, especially with the addition of Zay Jones. Everything in its right place. An elevated offensive line. A good receiving core. Future pacing. Michael Wilson's played a handful of games. Greg Dortch has never really been thrust into the spotlight. Hopefully, he'll get his... listen. Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, and Nick Rallis, all they've done is put players that deserve the position to succeed in a position to succeed. And Greg Dortch 1,000% deserves the shot. If you told me by week 8 he was a fantasy darling in the slot, averaging 5 catches and 60 yards and, half a touchdown a game, would I be shocked? Of course not. That's what he's done. When given the opportunity, he scores touchdowns. When given the opportunity, he's an absolute change of pace difference maker. And you feel bad for Rondale Moore because his first handful of years were wasted under Cliff Kingsbury running him east and west. This is what Rondale Moore was supposed to be. And then you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. You've got that veteran in Zach Jones and Chris Moore and Zach Pascal. Sure. Special teams guys, I'm not sure why people thought, remember, kids, friends, just because you can name players on the roster doesn't mean that validates an argument. Watch out for that. People are like, oh, no, the Cardinals need another piece. Wait, they've got boo, 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 boo. Yeah, you can name all the players you want. That doesn't mean those players have the necessary talent to be able to, elevate this team. So the offense seems to have everything in its right place. The defense is the question mark. And saying a question mark doesn't have a poor connotation. It's what it is. It's a question mark. We don't know what this defense is going to be. I'll tell you what, though, for the majority of first halves of the 2023 season, man, I'm so happy I don't have to talk in just circumstantially, like lowering the bar for what should be commended, like it was last year. For the first half of the majority of games last year, this defense was in it. Of course, they get gassed when the offense can't stay on the field and they don't have the talent necessary to level up and play defense for 60 minutes. They've got young guys who like to hit in the right spots. And if, Elijah Jones and Max Melton pop, if Garrett Williams pops, if Sean Murphy-Bunting is the veteran necessary to be able to level up that cornerback room, if Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson are able to just level out and play average to slightly above average football for the year, this is a completely different defense. Listen, put it this way, before I get into weeks 13 through 18, if the defense takes a massive leap, the Cardinals could be a playoff team. And I don't say that speaking in platitudes. I don't say that as something just to give you a little sugar on top at the end of a show that, makes it look like the Cardinals aren't going to win very many games this year. If the Cardinals defense is a top 15 defense, this team can make the playoffs, regardless of who they play. Because if they're a top 15 defense, they will have played the teams that are tough, and they played them tough, and they probably won more games than we expected watching them before the season started. If the Cardinals have a top 15 defense next year, they'll make the playoffs. Or they'll at least win more games than they lose. Because if they're a top 15 defense and the Cardinals win 6 games, we're going to have very uncomfortable conversations about Kyler Murray at the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's any world where that happens. The Cardinals, top 15 defense, they're fighting for a playoff spot. So let's get week 13 through week 18. For those that are just listening, Vikings on the road, Seahawks at home, Patriots at home, Panthers on the road, Rams on the road, 49ers at home. This is the quote-unquote easiest portion of the schedule. Okay. So if the Cardinals get through 12 weeks and they're 6-6, you could be looking. Oh, sorry. They get through 12 weeks and they're 6-5 because they had their bye week. Apologies. Or 5-6. You could still be looking at the Cardinals as quote unquote in the hunt because they should beat the Vikings. They should beat Seattle at home. Seattle at home and Seattle on the road are two different things. They should beat the Patriots at home. They should beat the Panthers on the road. And then the Rams on the road and the 49ers at home. The 49ers could have locked up the onesie at that point, so they could be sitting people in week 18. They need to play competitive football through the first 12 weeks or 11 games in 12 weeks. If they do, this schedule really is structured in their favor. It's a lot to ask, a lot of ifs, but when you look at it in 3 parts, very difficult, eases up a little bit, easiest, you'd much rather have that, in my opinion, than the inverse version of that, easy, medium, hard. Because we don't know how long it's going to take for this offense to gel. You'd rather play against tough teams that you may not be favored against, but if you figure it out early and you can get some wins, that's great. You don't want to have easy games, quote unquote, your easiest games when you're still trying to figure stuff out and you may slip and lose 1 or 2. And then you play the toughest thing, play the toughest spot. So when you look at, in general, in the 2024 season, what's going to happen? Nobody has any idea what the hell is going to happen. And that's the most fun thing. There's no restrictor play. The ceiling is not there. Where the floor is, that's the question. Is the floor 6 or 7 wins for this team? Is the floor 5 wins? Is the floor 4 wins? We don't know. And that's the fun part. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, one thing we do know, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.